Hi, I'm Brienne. Most beginning watercolor artists don't struggle because they can't mix greens. They struggle because all their greens look the same. But nature is full of thousands of greens. However, we don't need to have thousands of different paint tubes. We just need a few colors. And I'm going to show you how, by mixing your greens, you can have more harmonious paintings as well as a wide variety of greens that look natural. Before we get into mixing greens, let me show you my palette for a little bit. I have two main yellows. This is transparent yellow oxide and bright yellow lake. You can see I have a couple piles of each of the yellow, but these are my two main yellows. Then for my blues, I have ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cobalt turquoise deep, and then this is a manganese blue hue that I use for specific things in skies sometimes. So I don't generally use that for mixing greens. Generally, it's just those three blues. So let's look at those mixtures out first. So if I want my brightest green, the most like spring green that I can mix with my yellows and blues, it's going to be the yellow that's closest to the blue. So the coolest yellow, and then the warmest blue. Okay, so that's my spring green. That is as intense a green that I can get. Now, I save this for rare occasions. Like, I'm not generally going to do that. Now, if I want a little more neutral green, of course, I can use my transparent yellow oxide and then mix it with that turquoise. And you notice now I get like an olive green, something I much more use in certain situations. All right, so already I'm getting a variation in green. Now let's just quickly do the rest of the mixtures, and then I want to talk about it for a little bit. All right, those are the three different greens, and they're very subtle in what I can make with my two yellows, okay, and my three blues, which, just to review, is cobalt turquoise deep, cobalt blue, and then ultramarine blue. All right, now they may not look very different, and you're right, they don't. That's because I don't really do mixtures of greens like pure like this, like, oh, I want that specific green or that specific green. And sometimes you might mix, let's just talk about this. See how brown these look in and of themselves. If I was just going to mix this, like my transparent yellow oxide with ultramarine blue, it looks very brown. But yet it is a green, and compared to other colors, it can still feel green. But you might mix this and say, oh, it's just an ugly green, where these are beautiful greens. But I don't really think that way. If we look at the color wheel, I'm going to show you this image. Notice it really depends on where the yellow is on the color wheel compared to where the blue is that you mix. So don't always think, we know that yellow and blue make green, but which yellow and which blue matters. For example, here, when we mixed a yellow that was closest to the blue, right? So a cool yellow with a warmer blue, we get this brighter, or a blue that's closer to the yellow, then we get this bright green, right? That's as bright as we can get. But transparent yellow oxide is a warm yellow, so we're moving away from the blue, and like ultramarine blue is towards the red, so we're also moving away from the blue. So it's going to be more neutral, all right? So understanding this is what really will help you in learning how to mix greens. And so any one of these mixtures is not how I mix. So let me show you an example, and then we're going to do a little scene. So more of what I would do is if I wanted, you know, a bright green, so I get my bright yellow out. I know I want a lot of yellow in this green, and it could be any one of those blues is fine. And so maybe I start painting with this bright green. But then let's say I want more blue in it. I want it cooler. Okay, so then I just would adjust that a little so that now it becomes a cooler green. But let's say that's a little too intense for me. Well, then I might add in some of my trans yellow oxide, which I know neutralizes the green. So then I have a variation of green over here. So maybe there's another tree that's more neutral. And the other thing is, okay, maybe I bring in some ultramarine blue as well as some of that to really neutralize it and make some darker areas. See how I'm starting to form this variation of green. And then maybe let's say the grass is lighter and brighter, and so we bring some of this turquoise in to kind of get a nice intense green, and there's our grass, right? So that's the kind of way I mix, and I know this seems complicated, but it's really just variation of green. Something I learned moving to Pennsylvania from Utah, mind you. So green used to be the accent color, right, that I would add into a painting, where now I was confronted with a wall of green. But what I figured out is it's not any one green that is magic, okay? When you're learning to mix greens, it's not about coming up with the perfect combination or the perfect formula. It's about variation and varying it. So let's get some more variation in here. So I have a nice variation of greens just using my blues and yellows, and that works. But another thing I like to do is, okay, start with some kind of green, and then maybe I add some orange to it. But yet it'll still feel green, but now I've added just another color to give more depth to that green. All right, so now I have more of an olive green. Then maybe I add some of my lavender to a bright green. And I tend to push colors one way or the other. So start with some mixture and then I add something else to it. See, but now I have even more variation. Then I might add some purple to change up that mixture even more. Okay, let's start with another green mixture, get some kind of green going. And then let's say I add some of my red to that. That changes the hue. So now this green is that much different. So yeah, these are running all together and that's okay. I'm just trying to show you the variation that we can get. And then sometimes I'll add this horizon blue, and it just keeps changing the nature of the green. But see the variation that we have. So when you have variation like this, and when I'm using the same yellows, right? Just 2 yellows, 3 blues, but then I'm adding other colors, but other colors in my palette that I'm going to use throughout the painting, then the greens can feel unified, even though they're varied. You take any one of these greens, one color, and you might not like it, kind of like that one there, right? I'm going to do 2 little demos here, one where I'm using my greens, and then one where I'm going to use some tube greens. And I want to show you the differences.
I'm going to speed these demos up, but what I want you to do is look at how I mix the greens and how I bring in other colors to do that. When I paint greens, I'm not trying to match the colors exactly, but I am thinking of the nature of the greens. So is there a little more yellow in it, a little more blue? Do I add some orange? What's the value? Is it cooler as it recedes? Those are the type of things I'm thinking about. And then I can push it. Because I'm using yellows and blues and maybe some other colors, I have a control over the greens I want to mix. Now, if you want to see this more carefully and done in a painting, you should watch my YouTube video about painting masses of green trees. Here are the tubes of paint that I'm going to use for the second demo. This just happened to be what I had in my studio. And what you'll notice is that there's nothing wrong with any one of these greens. They're beautiful greens. They're transparent and each one's a little different. I'm trying to use ones that are more neutral to neutralize, ones with more yellow. What you'll find is that it is harder to unify the greens when they're all so different. And this is why I like mixing mine and then using different colors to adjust and vary the greens. Now let's evaluate these. Now remember, these are just studies. I'm not trying to say that either of these are good paintings. They're not. I want you to just look at the overall feel of the greens with this one compared to this one. Okay, so but looking with both of these, this one's got some nice, it still has the contrast, and any one of these greens, they're beautiful greens and they're greens that I could mix. But notice how this one to me feels more unified. This one feels like the greens don't necessarily play well. They don't feel like they fit as much as they fit here. And that has to do with the fact that by limiting the number of colors I use to just mix my greens, right? Even when I bring in other colors, I can get this beautiful variation, but that is still unified. Remember that the goal is not to buy the perfect tube of green or to find the right mixtures to mix that perfect green that you see in front of you. It's about learning how to adjust your colors and make those subtle shifts using a limited number of yellows and blues. This way, your paintings will look more harmonious and the greens will feel more natural. I challenge you to get outside and either plein air paint, take some photos or take some notes, and then get back to your studio and practice mixing greens with just a couple yellows and blues. I hope that this video was helpful and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to learn more from me online, please visit travelingcolorstudio.com. I would love to see you there. Thanks and happy painting.